Hello and welcome to another live edition of the Nittany Dispatch. I'm John Sauber, Penn State beat writer at the Center Daily Times. She is Audrey Snyder, doing the same at InsideTheLions.substack.com, and we have functioning Wi-Fi.
Don't jinx it, John. Don't jinx it.
That's true. That's true. I appreciate everyone who's here in the chat. As always, feel free to drop your questions in there. And for once, I'm not forgetting to say this at the top of the show, but if you have, like you said, if you have questions, put them there. If you're listening after the fact, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button down below. That always helps us out. I think that's everything, Audrey.
It's Thanksgiving week, John. We should wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
That's why we're doing this Monday night, because we want to give people something who listen to the audio version out on YouTube, something to listen to while they're driving or flying or taking a train somewhere, wherever it is people are doing this week, to kind of get into the coaching search and this team and the push for a bowl bid and Terry Smith's push for this job. It's been an interesting, not even 48 hours since we last convened.
It's been an interesting 10 hours for me.
Yeah.
As I get to hear everybody's critiques on social media about my reporting and everything, which is fine. It comes with the territory.
You got my message. Yeah.
It is what it is. I'm not worried about it. I stand by my reporting, which, despite other people's attempts to twist it, is not saying that Kalen DeBoer is going to be Penn State's next head coach or saying that he's even highly interested or anything like that. I wish people were better at
criticizing you, John. What's going on?
Well, Paul Feinbaum, who surprisingly people still care about his opinion, is giving his thoughts on my reporting, which, whatever. It is.
Do you want to share some thoughts? Or?
I have plenty of thoughts, and I will not share them. I will just share that I stand by my reporting that Penn State had Kalen DeBoer as a top target early on in this process. I think that's something that you've heard as well, and that has remained the case.
We've talked about it on here a lot.
Yes, a lot.
I don't know why people just picked this up within the last 2 or 3 days.
I think the issue is, so I went on Alabama radio last week, and that it blew up down there because of it. Singing happy Thanksgiving in the chat to us, by the way. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and everyone else that is watching and listening. But yeah, I think
even Paul Feinbaum. Happy Thanksgiving to Paul.
Happy Thanksgiving to Paul Feinbaum. But I think it just got picked up on Alabama radio, and they misconstrued it as essentially saying that that a deal was going to happen somehow, which is not what I reported. Even the reporting about my reporting is incorrect. Someone said that I moved Kalen DeBoer down from my number one on my coaching board, which a spot he never held on my coaching board. The highest he was at is number 2,
so
which he'll be there when we publish tomorrow morning. By the way, he'll still be at number 2, and it'll still ring true that for anything to happen there, Alabama has to lose to Auburn, Alabama has to miss the playoff, and Penn State has to convince Kalen DeBoer to go to Penn State. I don't know if any of those 3 things are going to be likely, right? But apparently that is all people care about.
That would be like a Kalen DeBoer parlay, right? We need this, then we need this, then we need this. I will say
put the odds are pretty long.
Yeah, I was on Paul's show once, and it was when the runway was taking some direct hits around here from James Franklin Auburn week. And the funny part is, somebody, producer reached out and oh, do you want to go on Feinbaum? I'm like, yeah, sure. I've never been on. I was at Dakari Nelson's high school in the parking lot.
I remember this, yes.
I was in a rental car, and it was terrible. Here's me. It's pickup time at the school. I just talked to Dakari and his dad, who's a principal at the school. And I'm all Feinbaum, holding my phone in my car, and there's buses behind me. And I was in Selma, Alabama. So that was my one time. But, John, if Alabama loses the Iron Bowl...
The Iron Bowl, yes.
I think we can blame you. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm certain that's what will happen. But yeah, listen, Kalen DeBoer is someone that Penn State has had a lot of interest in since they fired James Franklin. I don't know that anything's going to come of it. I don't believe that there's a ton of interest from DeBoer in leaving Alabama, but we'll see how things go. I don't know. I'm not afraid to admit when I don't know things. I know that's hard for some people who just want to fire off their opinions with their cul-de-sac haircut. But, I just, when I don't know, I don't know.
Well, John, let me pivot us out of this. You mentioned that reporting around some things and some thoughts. One of the comments I've seen a lot of, and it seems like it's really ramped up in the last 2 to 3 days. It's always kind of been there, but it seems like the longer this search goes on as we enter week 7, the more prevalent it becomes. People are saying it seems as if Pat Kraft fired James Franklin and had no plan, and there was no plan whatsoever, and Penn State's just out there winging it. Here's what I'll say to that. Think about this logically for a hot second. Pat Kraft's legacy is going to be defined at Penn State by the Beaver Stadium renovation, which is ongoing, and this head football coach hire, right? As much as it's the athletic director's job to hire for everyone else in this department, with all due respect to all of the other coaches, you're not as important as the cash cow in State College that is the football program. I mean, Cale Sanderson will be up there, but again, different realm, revenue, non-revenue, totally different. So, why would someone put their livelihood on the line, their career on the line, if they had no idea what they were going to do? Now, you cannot, and I don't mean John, in case anyone's listening in Alabama, you cannot predict what's going to happen in a coaching search, right? Like you have your list of candidates, just like James Franklin has that list in his phone of people that he wants to work with on his staff, and they're constantly updating it. I'm sure throughout Pat Kraft's career as an athletic director, he's had thoughts of people he'd like to work with or people he's kept an eye on here and there, those kinds of things. That becomes part of your list. But you also have to think about the fit at this place and who works, who makes sense. So to think it was just like solely an emotional decision, like I think that's just really off base. Now, granted, there was certainly emotion behind it when, we all remember the scene in Northwestern and it was really bad. But so far, Penn State has played this correctly because they're getting off the hook for all of the money, essentially. They owe James Franklin $9 million, which not be paid out in one lump sum. There we go.
Oh, boy.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it will not be paid out in one lump sum, despite what was circulating there for a bit that I had to correct, the night that James Franklin was hired by Virginia Tech. But yeah, I think it is. Listen, I know everyone's impatient, right? Coaching searches are, I'm sure, fun for fan bases and also not fun, right? Because you start to get anxious as it gets close to, you're at the end of the regular season and they don't have a coach hired and Virginia Tech does, but why does it Penn State, right? Like there's, you start to benchmark and look at
they fired their coach in September.
I know, but I'm saying like you start to benchmark next to other programs and where, where they stand and where their searches are. And even like a candidate like Bob Chesney, right? Like just using this as an example. People will say, how can you hire Bob Chesney when James Franklin was the choice ahead of Chesney for Virginia Tech and you just fired you just fired James Franklin? That is not like how these things work.
It's not
like,
apples to apples. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like, I don't understand. I said this on Saturday, right? On some level, hiring a head coach is taking the best educated guess you can. You just never know how a fit is going to work out until it's actually happening. It's a really difficult thing to do. It's not necessarily like evaluating players where you have a ton of film, a ton of you do have interviews with players too, like understanding what makes them tick, how they think. That's why the draft process exists and stuff like that, the recruiting process. I just think that it is difficult to compare any search to another or any hire to another because the situations that each coach goes into is very, very different. And so I think that is a major point with this. And to your point about, people saying Pat Kraft doesn't have a plan. Look, I couldn't tell you the last coaching search where a program landed their absolute top target. Everyone always swings big. Always, right? Like you'll see on my coaching board that Marcus Freeman is still on that list. Do I still think Penn State's going to hire him? No, I never did. I never thought he was going to be the hire, but they still push for guys like that because everybody pushes for these candidates that might not be realistic, but they need to try for because they need to, like, why wouldn't you, right?
Why wouldn't you try to talk to your top choice? Yeah.
Right. And so that's my interpretation is that's the case here. Penn State is going to make a push for its biggest swings. It is going to try hard for them. It is going to evaluate all these coaches and then decide who is best. It
tried hard for Mike Elko.
Right. And yes.
Let's revisit that, right? If we're talking about, this seems crazy. Let's remember that.
And even saying saying Penn State is settling for whoever they hire, which, by the way, I saw someone ask about the mystery candidate thing. It would not surprise me if the next head coach is not someone that I have on my coaching board when I publish tomorrow, or not someone that we discuss. That's how these things go.
In fact, people come out of the woodwork. Yep.
Yes. Right. And I think that's a big part of this process too. I think it is it's too early to evaluate a search that hasn't concluded yet because the point of the search is to make the hire. And so when you see the hire is, then you can evaluate it. I'll say what I said again Saturday. Everybody just needs to take a deep breath, relax, let this process play out, and see who Penn State hires. And believe me, if Penn State makes a bad hire, I will be one of the first to criticize them. That is part of the job, right? Like our job is to evaluate these things, to do analysis of these things about whether the process was good, whether, you know what I mean? All of that stuff.
Whether the fit's good, whether then you get the whole on-game piece, and you get the recruiting piece, and the piece that no one cares about except for you and I and everyone else on the beat. How's our access? How are they to deal with?
Yeah, that's
do
the
they
thing
laugh
I care
at my
about
jokes, right? And they don't.
Yeah.
None of them do.
I think if it's all right with you, I think this is a good chance to go into some of the questions in the chat because there are a bunch of them already.
Well, I wanted to hit on Terry Smith first.
Well, I think will help here because I think there's
go
an
ahead,
easy avenue
because I never look at the comments.
Right. And to be clear, if anyone's in the chat has a question, feel free to leave it. We'll try to get to it if we can. The first question I see here is, did the Joe 409 button help or hurt Terry's chances? And I think this is the discussion that we're about to have anyways. And so I will allow you to take the floor on that one.
Yeah, I think it hurt. I think it hurt because Penn State administration did not know that he was going to do it. Now, I also think it's telling and interesting that your coaching candidate does not give a rat's whatever of what the administration might tell him to say or do. He's wearing his khakis. He's wearing his 409 pin because that's what Terry Smith wants to do, right? He's a man of his own convictions, which is like, I like that. That's admirable. I think the fan base certainly likes that too. Now, this is where I'm confused a little bit by the process. Penn State has been in this search for, what did I say? This is week 7, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
First week, October 11th or 12th, whatever that was. Terry Smith said today, he was asked again if he's interviewed, and he says he hasn't yet. I think if you're Penn State, you would have conducted this interview like early on in the process, just to say, hey, Terry, you're a legitimate player, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, John, the guy that we saw 7 weeks ago who stood up at the press conference and ended it by jokingly, only half jokingly, saying, pray for me, now is pounding the table and advocating for himself because he wants this job, and people in the stadium want him to get this job, and a vocal portion of the fan base and the Paterno base and the Paterno backing want Terry Smith to get this job. So the guy that we saw 7 weeks ago compared to the guy we saw Saturday night, the guy we saw today, I think it's very different. But I do think it's telling that he has not interviewed yet. And he said today that, you know, he was under the impression he was going to sit down with Pat Kraft, and he thought he was going to have a chance to like state his claim. I don't think the kind of going rogue helps your case in that regard, right? Like, I don't think you want to, again, this is a search committee of one with Pat Kraft. Like, that does not help your case to be like, hey, whoa, you're bringing up the Paterno stuff, and what do we do with that? I think the Terry Smith dialogue is certainly interesting, and we did get into it today too with him about, if you're not offered the job here, do you want to be here? And he kind of, I don't know, I thought he danced around it a little bit, kind of reiterated what he had said before. He'd be open to any opportunity. But
yeah, I don't know if that was my read about it. I don't know that he danced around. To me, it seemed like what he had said previously, right?
Yeah.
That he would be open to it. But I think the real question isn't if Terry wants to be here. It's, did he make it tenable for the next head coach to keep him? And I've seen stuff saying like that people are, either reporters are petitioning for, detracting from Terry's case. We are just reporting what we're seeing and talking to people and all that stuff.
He's fun to deal with. He's very fun to deal with. Like, I'm cool with that.
He makes our life easier, if anything, right?
Yes.
But like, Terry Smith's not the head coach, great. Terry Smith's the head coach, great. Terry Smith's an assistant next year, great. Terry Smith's not an assistant, great. Like, it does not.
Terry Smith's at Virginia Tech, cool.
Yeah, we do not have a rooting interest in this. But yeah, I think the bigger issue isn't whether he wants to be at Penn State. It's whether it's tenable for him to be on the next staff when you have, let's say you retain, I don't know, 25, 30 players, whatever it is, right? Because there's going to be a ton of turnover next year. Does the head coach next year want someone on his staff that maybe 80% of those players were advocating for? And so maybe it creates a schism in the building, right? Like, I'm not saying it would. I actually don't think Terry would be the kind of person that would do that, right? I think the opposite. But at the end of the day, once you sow those seeds, like, they're there, right? And so whether he would want them there or not, players would have those feelings, right? Because the guy that they advocated for while still in the building didn't get the head job. So that could create resentment. I also think that there was a lot of stuff that I feel like Terry might regret with the way he handled Saturday, and even the week in the lead up to the game. I just think it turned into I don't know. I thought Saturday was a bit of a disaster from a standpoint for him from a wanting the head coach job. I don't know that, like I said, I don't know that it'll end up mattering because I didn't think he was getting the head coaching job anyways. And I thought there was always a chance that he went to Virginia Tech or stayed at Penn State. So maybe it won't impact anything, but I did not think that he handled that well. And I wonder if he feels the same way.
Now, John, though, here's the thing. He can't handle his players just pulling out signs and advocating for them. That was their decision to do that. And
but he can I don't know. Having signs make their way from the stands to the sideline and running around and then saying things like, "This is my locker room," and saying that you're the only one that understands Penn. Like, I just think that I think it was very clear that he was making a push to be the head coach, verbally and through actions and everything. And I think, like, you can say that he can't control those things, but I'm sure the counterpoint, and I'm not necessarily making this point, would be that, well, they're his players. If that's his locker room, shouldn't he have control of those things? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the body of work and you look at the fact that they didn't beat, the behemoths on the schedule with Terry Smith. And I think if they win that Indiana game, that changes the discourse a little bit. That gives you hey, instead it's like, well, they got really close, which again goes back to, you don't fire James Franklin to hire the guy down the hall.
Yeah.
And I am with you in that the players have said what they said and they had their actions, and we'll talk to players on Tuesday and Wednesday. And what's going to come up now is, hey, you guys had signs for this, blah, blah, blah. If Terry Smith is your head coach, are you going to stay here? And they might, if they're not ready to answer that question, well, that's what happens when you pull out all these signs and make this a narrative.
Right. And I think that's the thing too. If you had one of those signs, you should then be willing to say that you're willing to stay, right? Because I think there's a pretty easy line to draw there. Now,
granted, like, people are allowed to change their minds. They're 18
for sure. Yes,
like, I get it. But
right, and that's what, like,
of
all the people involved in Saturday, I blame the players the least. They're, for the most part, like kids, young adults, whatever you want to call them. They're not people in positions of power who, you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to have their say.
I mean, it's interesting because you can tell how much these players love Terry Smith and how much they are enjoying playing for him. And, we heard so much about his quotes and all his sayings and those kinds of things. And he's certainly tapped into something, and we're seeing it with the physicality of the offensive line. We're seeing it with a redshirt freshman quarterback who wasn't supposed to be playing this year, who's making strides each week and taking steps. They're playing for Terry, and he said their goal this week is beating Rutgers. He kind of channeled a little bit of James Franklin on. He's like, we're trying to go 1-0, blah, blah, blah. I did ask
James
him
Franklin,
again,
who he's very close with.
Yeah, I was going to say, did ask him again because I wanted to make sure we had that on the record. Yes. And he said, he goes, I'm sorry. Like, he messed up the response because he forgot to answer the part of the question last week, which was totally fine. But yes, he's really close with James Franklin, as James told you and I in Blacksburg last week. And Terry even said, which I thought this was interesting, that he was communicating with James on Saturday, and that part of the conversations they were having is, what do you do now that there's staff members, again, we're talking behind the scenes, like not on field staff members, who are going elsewhere, which these people are going to Virginia Tech with James.
Yeah, but I thought that was funny.
Right?
Yeah, I thought it was very funny. That I'm not saying Terry did this, but he could have easily said, "Hey, you stole half my staff. What do I do?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is essentially the conversation. Yeah, which, I mean, is good on James, right? Like, that's his friend. Like, he wants to
take your guys, but, like, let me. And that's, I think.
Yeah, I'm not actually surprised that James would help with something like that either.
Yeah, like, this is, again, as James told you and I in all of our stories that are up, my Substack, you over at Center Daily Times. There are relationships in that building, a hell of a lot of them, that James Franklin still cares a lot about. And, if this team gets bowl eligible, I think James Franklin will be elated for him. I don't think he's going to watch because he hasn't watched, but that part's too difficult for him. But I think no doubt he'd be happy for Terry Smith and happy for this team that they put it together. You and I have been on the record for several weeks saying that we think Penn State's going to make a bowl game. So again, there's that focus this week that's happening, but Terry did tell us, because I had to get my burning question in, John, because I won't be at practice Wednesday night, because I always ditch the Wednesday of Thanksgiving week so I can get back to the suburbs for Thanksgiving and not fight with horrendous traffic on the worst travel day of the year. So you guys can have a wonderful time at practice without me Wednesday night. So I had to get a couple questions into Terry. And I asked him something that we've talked about on here quite a bit, which is if they get to 6 wins, and so if they beat Rutgers and they're bowl eligible, how do you have a roster when we could be sitting here next week seeing a bevy of tweets from players saying, hey, I intend to enter the portal, or maybe they wait until a new head coach is announced, or maybe they wait till the end of the semester, whatever that time frame is that they want to decide. The portal opens January 2nd, but that doesn't mean players won't make their intentions known before then. So I said to Terry, like, James had a policy. When a guy entered the portal, he was off the team, his locker was cleared out. Is that going to be your policy if you guys make a bowl game? And he said that he was like, circumstances are different now. And I very much took his answer as, hey, we're going to kind of wait this out and do what's in our players' best interest. And he did say that he thinks they'd probably have a couple one-offs that are opt-out, whether maybe that's like your high-end guys, like you do for any bowl game, like any non-New Year's Six game, right? Any non-playoff game, even. Oh, yeah, because don't even forget about the Dante Cephas game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so the Kalen King opt-out. So, again, sometimes you get that. But they're certainly dealing with a low-tier bowl game should they get there. So, yeah, I mean, they will play. They will field a roster. He's confident in that. So maybe this weekend is not it.
Maybe not. But let's take a brief break to hear from our sponsors. One play can change a season. One upset can silence a stadium. With every snap, the stakes get higher. No one brings you closer to the action than DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting. From live betting to odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff to the final whistle. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Own every Saturday with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DISPATCH. That's code DISPATCH to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario, restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
John, I checked the chat once, and I saw a comment that you traded in your Roback hat tonight for functioning Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the Roback hat is just downstairs today, but it is always ready to go in the rotation. So have the Roback hoodie, though. Right
maybe out of sight, never out of mind. So
That's
you're
right.
still representing in at least one of your 3 phases today. But our friends at Roback, you can save 20% off your first purchase when you use code TND20. That's TND20 as in the Nittany Dispatch 20. John, as soon as we started recording today, I mean, I should say before, but it was like right as you hit go live, I was doing some Christmas shopping. So trying to get ahead of it. I'm one of those weirdos that likes to be done really early. Like I was putting up Christmas lights earlier. I'm in a good spot, but go to Roback, check it out, get ahead, use code TND20 and save 20% off of your first purchase.
And to be clear, I have bought Roback gifts for people in my life for Christmas. Just to be clear, this is a thing. I do not.
You can do the same.
I would absolutely do the same. All right, the coaching search. Do you want to give some of these questions? Roll through, see what we got.
Let's do it.
All right. When do you expect the coaching hire to happen? So to me, there are 2 likely windows. Let me know if you disagree, Audrey. One is this weekend, meaning like Sunday-ish. The other is the following Sunday. I think those are the 2 main ones we're looking at right now. I lean toward it being the latter, if I had to guess right now. But I think that is the main window we're looking at. If it gets past that second Sunday, then we'll kind of reevaluate where we think it could go and when it could go. But I think those are the 2 main ones right now.
Yeah, so that would be either the 30th, which is this Sunday, or December 7th, which is the following Sunday, which is like your conference championship weekend, which we don't have to worry about for Penn State. I think that's probably the correct time frame. Now, if something happens at the Iron Bowl and
That's right.
some things change and Kalen DeBoer wants the exit ramp and all of that, then we'll see, right? Like I still think that could fit into that timeline though, because then you're not worried about the playoff and all that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're looking at.
I've said before too that if BYU were to upset Texas Tech in the Big 12 title game, assuming those two teams face each other, BYU could then hop into the playoff, and that would obviously impact Alabama and potentially knock them out. And that could, so a BYU win over Texas Tech could really impact Penn State there. Question here: do we think Kalen DeBoer would be a good fit at Penn State? Seems more like a West Coast type to me. I actually wouldn't be surprised if DeBoer were on the lookout for a particular West Coast job if it were to open down the road. But yeah, I think you'd be a good fit anywhere, really. I think if there are problems at Alabama, it's just about, the expectations are sky high. Like, you got to win national titles at Alabama. And I think that's probably, I think that's the only place in the country there, and maybe Ohio State, where winning a national championship any given year is like falling short, basically.
The game, right? That's going to be fun. It's going to be fun coming up to see Ryan Day and what, if anything, changes for his program, if they can get past the Michigan mental hurdle. Again, it's always so weird covering Penn State because it's rivalry week and we're just like, woo, Penn State Rutgers. Like, no one cares, especially this year. But yeah, I mean, think about it too. Like the Lane Kiffin, all the drama surrounding the Egg Bowl that we're going to see, and like Kiffin's future and that domino falling. And, if there's someone who I'm sure loves the attention that's coming with all of this, it's probably him. And you're going to have so many people tuned in watching the Egg Bowl to be like, all right, what's Kiffin going to do? And I don't know how they roll that announcement out, because we're going to have a statement after the Egg Bowl.
I'm willing to bet it leaks out Friday morning, just with how this stuff works. Right? I would be stunned if it makes it to the statement time of that. But next question here: where is Bob Chesney in the search as of right now? So again, I'll be releasing a coaching board. I think we're publishing tomorrow morning. Right now, I would probably, and this is where he is on the coaching board, have him at 1 because of the combination of likelihood and their interest in him. I think the biggest thing going in his favor right now is that a lot of the other swings for Penn State, things need to happen in their favor, right? With Bob Chesney, the only thing that could get in the way, and I think I saw this mentioned in the chat too, so I'll address this now, is UCLA putting pressure on him to take their job, right? And if that were to happen, then I think it is, he's put in a tough spot, right? Do you wait for Penn State not knowing what's going to happen, or do you take UCLA, which I don't think it's a great job anyways. I think he will probably get other offers, but it's hard to turn down, right? A job like that, even if you want to decline it. It's one of those things where it's like, well, you're a Power 4 head coach or you're the James Madison head coach. And James Madison is a really, really good Group of 6 job, but it's a Group of 6 job. And he's probably going to go 11-1 and miss the playoff this year. Or 12-1 if they win the conference. I think that is the kind of thing that makes someone look in the mirror and say, how do I get there? How do I achieve my ultimate goal?
Yeah, you hit your ceiling and you're successful doing it. But at the end of the day, you can only go so far with that JMU job, which has been this awesome launching pad. And again, we got into this Saturday in the postgame show, but driving down to Blacksburg, you go right past Harrisonburg and right past the stadium there for JMU. And they've really done a nice job building that whole thing up. My brother started his college career at JMU. And we actually, this is interesting, got a front row seat to watching them revamping this football program because JMU cut, not nice.
I remember this. Yes, I do remember this.
To make way for it. So my brother was a distance runner and they were one of the programs cut. So Bob Chesney kind of capitalizing on all the other.
Bob Chesney. I feel like that's more Kurt Signetti's doing. Than Bob Chesney's doing.
Yeah, it's the administration's doing. But that's they were all in to make this the biggest show in town, and they've succeeded, right? It's worked. It's become this launching pad job. So certainly still in the mix for Penn State. But like John said, we got to see how some of these other teams shake out.
Well, and that's what's tough about all of this. Every Saturday changes the calculus. All of the matchups changes the calculus where these coaches are involved. So I think until all of the whoever the hire is done, we're just not going to know. We're not going to have the clearest picture on the planet. Another question here in the chat: why not give Terry Smith a short-term contract and settle things down? I think if that is your reasoning, that's probably not good reasoning. Just settling things down, just because eventually, if he flames out, then it's like you're back at square one. And if you're Pat Kraft, do you get to make the next decision, right? Because essentially Pat Kraft was hired for a lot of reasons, Beaver Stadium renovation project, all that stuff. But he was really hired to make this decision, right? And to hire the next head coach, whether it's, or to retain James Franklin, right? Like that was one of the big things that was always going to come up. That was going to be a big money decision. And if I am him, I don't like settling things down is not a priority for me. It's making the right hire. And maybe that is Terry Smith. Like I said, on some level, you're guessing no matter what, but if he doesn't think that, then he should not hire Terry Smith. There should not be a appeasing portions of the fan base part of this. There should not be an appeasing players part of this and appeasing staff. There should be a make the right hire who will win the most games the quickest.
Yeah,
and
go with your gut.
Go
with your data. Go with what you've gleaned from interviews. Go with what you've learned from talking to people around this coach. The other thing too is if you just go with Terry to settle it down, you can't recruit like that, right? Like, what are you going to tell high school recruits? Like, hey, we got this guy on a 2-year contract. Like, come and play for us, right? Now, granted, you can change everything in the transfer portal. You can flip a roster. But I think you still have to be thinking long term. But I mean, it very much feels like Terry Smith has thrown a wrench into this whole thing by advocating for himself, by winning over a good portion of, or a vocal portion of the fan base.
There you go.
By having the support of the players. Like it seems like that's been a thing. I will say, John, again, we're in the bubble here in State College. It's interesting nationally. I've had a bunch of friends reach out to me and say, like, is this guy actually advocating for this job? Does he think he's really getting this job? Why does he think he's qualified for this job? Why should he get this job? And again, like the bubble here, the context of being a Penn State alum, of coming from a family of alums, being a Joe Paterno guy, like nationally, people are like, what the heck's going on at Penn State? Where it's like, we have a front row seat to all of it. And it's like, yeah, you're playing and hitting and tugging on the heartstrings of a lot of people in this fan base. And I wrote a column on Sunday about, what should Penn State brass do with Terry Smith and with this decision? And I'm not going to spoil it because it's my column and it's up on my Substack. But I think there are really a lot of angles you can lay out with him, both like in favor of the job, but also not in favor of the job. And again, if he doesn't get this job, which I still do not think he will, what happens, right? Is he here? Is it, like we said Saturday night, like, is this a Larry Johnson type situation? I also saw too a lot of, well, Pat Kraft should demand that whoever's the next head coach, that Terry stays here and he's on the staff. Does Terry Smith want to do that, right? Like, is that, again, like Terry gets a say in this too, as does the next head coach, whether it's him or someone else.
And also, you can make suggestions. You can't really place those kind of demands, especially when the situation has added some tension like this. Mm-hmm. Question here. I think this one can be a pretty brief response. Bobby Ingram is interviewing this week. Do you think he's a serious candidate? I would anticipate him interviewing. Yes. No, he is not a serious candidate. I think we can probably wipe that one away pretty quickly. I do not
keep things moving along.
Yeah. If it's not Chesney or DeBoer, who are the fallback options? The $1 million question, right? So you look at the candidates that everyone brought up earlier in the cycle, Brent Key, Eli Drinkwitz. I tend to think both of those coaches are going to end up at SEC schools. I know Georgia Tech fans will lose their minds when I say that, but that's fine. I tend to think both those candidates will end up at SEC schools. Marcus Freeman is a name that I bring up a lot. I tend to think I would be stunned if he's not back at Notre Dame. I honestly think that the honest answer right now is I don't know. And it goes to that mystery candidate that everyone wants to talk about that is out there. I feel confident in saying that kind of person probably exists, and that they could make their way into being a pretty heavy part of this process. But we'll see, right? Like, we'll see what happens with the top candidates and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, let's fire up the FlightAware and get over to the airport and start tracking those flights, John. Let's see if there's any candidates coming in here, surrounding airports, any mystery folks that maybe want to get in the mix. Yeah, I think once you move past that group, it gets really dicey. It gets really interesting. You and I have been like out on the Drinkwitz talk, and I think we'll probably stay out on it. Yeah. But I think, again, like, could be behind door number 3. We have candidate so-and-so that we don't know anything about. That, again, this is also the interesting thing. this is being run as a search party of one, right? Like, think about it when we were in Blacksburg, and here's the whole search committee, and they're so proud that they netted James Franklin, and there he is. And then Whit Babcock gets up there and almost calls him Brent Pry several times. But
not almost. He does call him Brent twice.
That's our new coach, James Franklin. So you juxtapose that with this search being run by one person. When it's one person, it's really easy to keep things close to the vest. It's really easy, I think, to pull off surprises, as opposed to, hey, when you've got 7, 8, 9 people involved, more people are talking. So, yeah, I mean, I think that just kind of is where we're at.
Yeah. Another name here in the chat, as I thought my Wi-Fi was failing. Someone said Jeff Brom.
You're starting to freeze on me, John. No.
Hold on. I opened a tab I shouldn't have. I know. I opened a tab I shouldn't have. That's my fault. It's fine. The audio's fine. Yeah. The name in the chat, as I brought up, Jeff Brom. So Brom got destroyed by SMU on Saturday, which is certainly not a good look if you want to get another head coaching
Doesn't
job.
Help.
That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another conversation about Brom. He was someone that I actually thought they were pretty far out on in the middle of the process. There's a chance they circle back there. I have a hard time seeing it happening when he's staring down the barrel of either 7-5 or 8-4, and at best 500 in ACC play. But it's possible. I'm not rolling it out as aggressively as I would have even a week ago, which is funny because a week ago he had not gotten destroyed by SMU, but here we are. These things go like this. You know, I think this is leading us to the $1 million question here. If the top candidates fall through, is it possible that Penn State made a mistake in firing Franklin? I have a lot of thoughts on this, so Audrey, I will let you go first.
I don't think so. I mean, I think it felt stale at the end. It felt like you've done the best that you could with this coach, and like you hit the top and you hit the ceiling and you started bouncing back down. I'm fine with them resetting. I think it was time. Did they know when they fired James Franklin on October 11th that they would run the risk of, hey, maybe things don't work out in this search? 100%. Like, that is absolutely the risk you take when you make a move like this. That's why it was so jarring, and people kept pointing to the buyout and all these things. If they can't do it, and like, you're giving up on 10-win seasons, and this is a playoff team, and this is a team that we knew would benefit the most from the expanded playoff, and did in the first year of it. Yeah, for sure, it's a big risk, but were you going to win a national championship with James Franklin? You weren't going to do it this year. That was clear.
They weren't going to do it next year because most of the roster was leaving. He wasn't going to be aggressive in the portal.
Yeah, and I think the James Franklin portal thing, and I want to dive more into this, and we've talked about it on here. I've written about it, but I think there's a lot there to unpack just in terms of like, he was more old school than people thought. And he said several times at Virginia Tech that, and we heard it a lot here, that he wants it to be transformational and not transactional. And I just don't think you can win that way in this game right now. Like, I think it's admirable that you want it to be that way, that you're here to change people's lives and to build relationships. And he wants to be at their weddings and, you know, all these things and stay in their lives for years to come. Like, that's great. But you also need to be aggressive and go after top-end talent. And we've seen Penn State show up short there in several areas, like the receiving corps time and time again, right? Like, they had opportunities to be more aggressive, and they financially had the resources to do it. And James wanted to preserve the locker room dynamic. And I think that's part of what happened this year when you look at it. So, yeah, I think they knew that there was a risk that this would not work out. I think everybody in college football looked at it and said, oh, wow, this is super bold. Look at Florida State, right? They're running back Mike Norvell next year. And
genuinely, like, I know there's a financial component, but I cannot believe he's getting another year.
I mean, I look at, the announcements around that, and you see that, and I'm thinking, imagine Penn State fans if this season stayed even as it is right now, right? That you're a 5-win team going into the last weekend of the regular season. And imagine if Pat Kraft would have come out and said, hey, James is our guy. We're just going to dump more resources into it. We're going to keep doing it. I think people probably would have been pretty ticked off about that. But But again, yeah, I think the timing piece lines up too, because as John mentioned, like this roster is getting reset one way or the other. So now you're just blowing the whole thing up.
I think that's the biggest thing here. I actually think they have a better chance of being good in 2026. Is that true long term? I don't know, but I think in 2026 for sure, because James was not going to dip heavily into the portal. It's not something he wanted to do. He never wanted to do it. They would have just tried to build from the ground up as they always do, and gone that way about it. They would have, yes, made additions from the portal, but they would not have gone heavily in that direction. And so you'd have been looking at a 2026 team that is a bridge year, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to make the change, I think you need to be thorough with it, right? Like you have to do it at a time that is not just, hey, the coach lost a few games, or hey, the coach is annoying me. It's the coach is not in a position to succeed right now and may not be the best person to have the team in a position to succeed moving forward. I did see someone say that James quit on the team. That's not true. It's not. Like, I know everyone wants to ascribe that because Terry Smith thinks so highly of Penn State that James hated Penn State. James had like a deep admiration for Penn State. I would go as far as say he loved Penn State. I know that wasn't always reciprocated, and that made things tough for him. But I think it's a little silly to say that he quit. Like, did he do a good job? No, he did a terrible job, right? This season, like he was like, I don't know if he agrees with it.
I thought you were going to say overall. No, I was like, oh boy, we're going to have to really have that conversation. Yikes.
No, he's been a really good coach most of his Penn State career. Yeah. He was terrible this year. No way around it. And a lot of things fell apart because of that. But I think it's a little silly to say that's because he quit. Like, and I think it's a little too simple, I guess, to say that. There is a lot at play as to why this season played out as it did. And I think, too, I said this on Saturday, everyone is acting like, and don't get me wrong, I think very highly of Terry Smith, especially as a cornerbacks coach, and like he's been awesome with us. But I think it's interesting that him going 2-3 gets him every excuse in the book for his 3 losses, but James going 3-3 doesn't, and James going 10-2 with 2 losses to top 5 teams, those don't get any excuses, right? Or like when James would lose in the semifinals, that doesn't get an excuse. I think it's interesting that as soon as he's gone, a new coach is there who is, the alum, all that stuff, and suddenly excuses are made.
Joe Paterno.
Yeah, like gives Joe Paterno credit, like, and wears the button, the 409 button, that all of a sudden, well, it's okay, he was trying his best. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a little disingenuous if we're looking at this strictly from an analysis perspective to say that Terry gets credit for this and like getting them to 2-3 this year, but James never got credit for pretty much having similar seasons, like when they would go 10-2 and just take care of business against the bad teams, right? I think it's listen, it is not a simple, I know that answer is not simple. I don't think it's a simple situation. I think it is much more complex than that. There are reasons James Franklin failed that are his own doing, I think. There are reasons that Penn State lost after he left by James's doing too. Like, I think this team was not set up in a position to succeed. I also don't think Terry Smith suddenly gets all the credit in the world because they beat Michigan State and Nebraska. I think he deserves credit for getting the team back on track without a shadow of a doubt. But I think it is like we're over-assigning credit and we're under-assigning blame, and that needs to come back in each of those directions.
It was also wild when you think about just the season in Beaver Stadium this year where, James is getting booed at the halftime against Oregon. You get the boos after the second overtime. You get the Northwestern, the ugly scene. And then it's like Terry gets a hero's welcome and, gets literally carried off the field at Michigan State. And then here gets this big grand celebration. I mean, it's just jarring. And I think, and this is where we have to be really careful too, because as journalists, as writers, sometimes you fall victim to the narrative and you fall prey to the story. And Terry Smith is a great story. And it's a wonderful story that this Penn State guy, he gets his chance. And, he galvanizes this team and they're headed in the right direction. Like, it's a great story. But that doesn't mean he's the right guy to lead this program long term. And I think that both things can be true, right? It can be true that Terry Smith is doing a nice job now with this team, but it also can be true that there could be better options for Penn State in the long run.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're in the chat, feel free to leave your questions. We are still getting as many as we can here.
When I glanced, now this is a problem. I've opened the comments.
I know. I keep seeing you look over there.
Someone had asked our Thanksgiving. They asked me a Thanksgiving side. I want to get into that.
Okay, real quick, and I want to address something that I saw someone mention that James can't win a big game, used car salesman stuff like that's all tired to me, right? Like it's all like James is not a used car salesman. He's a really good coach who had shortcomings in big games. I don't know why this has to be a like massive like he's a fraud. It's like no, he was just regular good. He just couldn't like.
But
he is what he is, right?
That same guy had you a minute away from playing for a national championship game.
Yes, and people I've seen people think that they were one play away from beating Indiana. Terry deserves a lot of credit. Well, like again, which is it? Like
they were a ball bounce away from Penn State beating Oregon in the second overtime or the first overtime.
Yeah.
Like,
is a one possession loss a great thing or a terrible thing? Like, so we gotta be consistent here. Like, whichever it is, I'm fine with it. I just want consistency there. I saw someone say that I think mediocre Franklin was great. I think it is hilarious to say that James was mediocre. I think that is a fundamental misunderstanding of where Penn State stands in the landscape right now. And I think, honestly, a lot of that is evidenced by the coaching pool, right? If this is a certifiable top 5, top 10, they should get the best coaches in the world. Like, why aren't they poaching Kirby Smart or Dan Lanning, right? Like, it's just, or whoever, right, that you want to say that is at a blue blood or Sark or whoever, right? It's just, this is a top 10 to 15 program in the country. I firmly believe that, and one that can win a national title. I just think it is, again, the hyperbole needs to be tamped down. Like it is, and I understand, like, and I saw a question or someone mentioned in the chat that the hire can't be emotional or reaction. Like, I think that's the problem right now too, is the response is emotional to all of it. And I think when you look at things in the long run, when we go back 10 years from now, we'll look at James Franklin's tenure at Penn State as a highly successful one that had some pretty bad lows and some pretty good highs, but he never could have reached the level that both he and the program wanted to. And I think it is, there's a lot to it than that as to why that happened. But I think when you boil it down, that's what it would look like.
Yeah, I am really interested to see, God, 10 years from now, who knows? Who knows where either of us are 10 years from now? Hell, who knows where we are 10 days from now? But I think it'll be really interesting to look back and see, how do fans remember the Franklin tenure? How do they remember last year's playoff run? How do they remember the 2016 Big Ten championship game where you look at the Rose Bowl win? I wonder, and I also think too, because of the sport changing when it did with him here, where like everything became playoff or bust, like that also changed, I think, the fan perception and the fan calculus on, well, who cares? Like, we didn't make the playoff, or who cares that we did this? We weren't, again, back when it was a 4-team playoff, like we weren't one of the 4 best. It's like, well, yeah, congrats. You were like 6 or 7. So I think just a lot of things changed, but yeah, with time, I'm really curious to see how people remember James. And that sounds like I eulogized him, and he's still in Blacksburg. As one fan astutely pointed out, my winter coat, as it turns out, is, and I've had this coat for a very long time, it's maroon, and people are like, "Oh, you already got a Virginia Tech coat, don't you?"
No, did you not tell everyone that you bought that when you were down in Blacksburg? It has a big VT logo on the back. There's a big VT back there. There's a Hokie on the whole thing.
In fact, there's a photo that I'm sure I can find of me wearing this coat several years ago in a press scrum, standing next to James Franklin. I was just planting the Virginia Tech seeds.
I did see someone too say that Penn State if James was a good coach, they would have beat Notre Dame because Penn State was a better team. Notre Dame had more talent than Penn State. Like they just
Jeremiah Love, crazy.
Yes, they were better at most positions actually last year, and were really good. And that's not to say Penn State wasn't really good too. It's just when you're in a coin flip game with pretty equal talent, and
you're in game number 16 of your season.
Yeah, sometimes, and I know nobody likes to hear this. The coin flip doesn't always go your way. I think the Kansas City Chiefs actually are a really good example of this. Last year, they were the luckiest team in the NFL. And I mean that statistically, not from like, they're lucky. Like they won a ton of 1-possession games. This year, they're losing a ton of 1-possession games. Like I think it just happens, right? Like it is a coin flip, and sometimes things don't go your way. And that's what it comes down to, right? Winning a national title is really hard, not just because you have to be really good, but because you do have to be lucky. And they were lucky at times last year, to be clear too, right? That USC game, they were lucky. They got some big plays when they needed it. And they were
Tyler
lucky
Warren
in other games.
Just make that catch, however many times out of 10, right? Like
they were lucky to get that win. Also, they were unlucky to have I'll just say it, Amari Evans give up on the route on the backside of that play where Drew Alley threw the interception, right? Or to not run the route at full speed. And so I think that's part of it, right? Like, and Cam Miller trips, right? Like, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's like, and I see someone said the coin flip never went Penn State's way with Franklin. I understand why it feels like that, right? But 2016, the coin flip went Penn State's way. 27 and 18 against Ohio, 17 and 18, against Ohio State, it did not go their way. Like, and I think if you look at it, it probably went against Penn State quite a bit more than you would expect. But like, it sucks. Like, you know what I mean? There's no way around it. It's not fun, but like, that's part of this.
I mean, again, you look at the Oregon game and where you're at in that first overtime, and it's like, all right, just you stop on fourth down and you don't get it. And the ball literally just does not bounce your way on a fumble. And the blade of grass, right? The blade of grass, it was just a tad too high. I mean, there are those moments, and it just felt like under the Franklin administration, the Franklin regime, that they were not ever getting those breaks, right? It was very rare. And I think that's why the frustration always seemed to hit a boiling point with James, because it was like, you can't get over the top. What are you going to do to get over the top? And it's like, then you get to those games against the marquee opponents when you have the lead on Ohio State and you squander it. And yeah, I mean, this is all why I think they just needed to reset it, rip the Band-Aid off and say, hey, we're going to try something new. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they're doing it, and we'll see who they get.
I like I said, and to be clear, like, I still think firing James Franklin was the right decision. I think there was an argument to do it earlier, right? Than a few years earlier. You look at
should have done it sooner, he said.
Well, no, I'm not saying they should have, but I think there's an argument you can make that like 2021 would have been a better time to do it, right?
Yeah, because you had the extensions in there, and
that's when the extension happened.
Yeah.
Like, I also think doing it now is the right decision. That doesn't mean I think that the last decade plus was a waste. Like, I think both things again can be true. That James did a good job, and also he was not capable of getting them where they needed to go. So the change had to be made. Someone asked twice, do we want Terry to be the next head coach? We don't. We went over this a little earlier. We don't care. Essentially, it is like
he's
either
here,
way.
Great.
Yeah.
If he's not, I hope is enjoying whatever else he's doing.
We have no rooting interest in this. And I see someone here. What about Manny Diaz? I don't expect it to be Manny Diaz. I know there was some conversation about him early in the process, but I think that would have been a fallback type thing. And frankly, Duke has not been as good as I think many has anticipated, despite them having a chance to play in the ACC title game, because the ACC is hilarious and a mess and very funny.
James
also
is
of note,
coming.
just aside for everyone in the chat, be nice to each other. Just had to put someone on timeout for being mean to something. Like, we don't got to do that. Just be nice to each other.
Did you put Paul F from Alabama in timeout?
No. Hey, don't say that. We have Paul M in our chat, and he's actually been wonderful and asking us a bunch of nice questions.
So Paul M can stay, not Paul F in Alabama.
Yes, appreciate you, Paul, and everyone else here. This is actually something that I wish we would have touched on earlier that I think we should get to now. I'll bring it up on the screen. There seems to be a narrative that hiring Terry will unlock significant booster donations. I don't doubt that there are donors who would now contribute, but is there some huge untapped source? No. I think, I guess, yes, there are untapped sources,
but it's not Texas A&M money.
But it's also not the head coach dependent, right? It is their philosophy dependent. And I think that is the more important thing, right? When you think about Penn State's big donors, the people you would want to give that money, they have to have a change in philosophy, and hiring Terry Smith does not change that. Like, I think it is the way they view it all would have to change that. Maybe Terry could be the person that could convince them to do that. I don't know. But this is, I think, a big misconception around this, right? That if suddenly, just to put it out there, like if Joe Paterno were honored or more involved in the program, that all of this money would come flowing in. That has been said time and time again, but there's no real proof that would be the case. And when there are opportunities to do that or put that on the table, it doesn't happen, right? And so, like, you can't like keep saying this. And I'm saying the people that are saying this, not necessarily the people asking the question in the chat, the people that push this narrative, you can't keep saying that and then not do anything. Like, eventually, like, it's put up or shut up time. And I think there's been opportunities to put up, and they've mostly not done it.
Yeah. What is it? West Shore home field? West Shore home field at Beaver
Stadium. You know why it's named that? Because West Shore Home put up the money.
Yes, because they put up the money, right? And we heard all of it should be Joe Paterno Field at Beaver Stadium or whatever it was going to be. The money was not raised. And I do believe that to a lesser extent, there are people, because again, I hear it in my neighborhood, people that do not want to give Penn State a nickel because they have not properly honored Joe Paterno and they feel wronged and they feel, all kinds of sort of ways about this. And so they won't give money. Now, we're not talking big money, but we're talking money. And maybe all these little things add up to something. But it's not like, hey, there's a Terry Pagula level donor that's not giving because Joe hasn't been properly honored or they haven't put the statue up or whatever it may be. There's definitely, I think on a smaller scale, there's some of it, but yeah, it goes back to the field naming conversation, and it got really loud for a while, and you had trustees beating the drum of this field should be named after Joe Paterno and all of this. Well, raise the money, bring the money forward. And I think that's, it's one of many things that makes Penn State so unique right now is you've got a really vocal portion of the fan base that still wants, Joe Paterno to be honored, and Terry Smith maybe is that bridge. But again, will they give or won't they? Or if they really care about this place and they care about the program, why does it matter who's the head coach?
Right. That is my thing. Right. And I think that's a good way to put it. Here's another question. What about losing 19 incoming freshman 2026 players? Yeah, it's not good. No way around that one. That's not good. To be clear, I don't think that getting Terry Smith back necessarily means like 19 players are coming back and everyone that's still committed is still hanging on, right? Like I think it's probably going to be a pretty good reset either way. And so I think that's part of why you don't account for that in the coaching search. If you're Pat Kraft and the people making this decision, really the person making the decision, just Pat Kraft. You can't account for one recruiting class. You have to make the right decision either way. I do want to address, because I am seeing it now, that I
just want to get on the recruiting class real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
James Franklin had a comment that was made last week that was a little bit off the cuff kind of, but I think it really spoke volumes. And he said something along the lines of like, yeah, at Penn State, we didn't deal with a lot of decommitments. We didn't deal with a lot of decommitments when I was there.
Yes.
Well, who's not here anymore and who has a lot of decommitments? Again, you see it with coaching changes, but yeah, to have a complete class pretty much crumble, not ideal. And again, now who maybe would follow this next coach here, right? Like that's the other part.
I think part of that is too a good indication of how Penn State is viewed, right? Like I think, like you look at LSU not losing a ton of commitments, what have you. Florida's not actually. I haven't checked Florida recently. I checked this on LSU recently. Like it's sticking together for the most part. In those states, those brands have really strong staying power, right? And I just don't think Penn State has quite the same staying power with recruits, whether that's warranted or not. It just is, right? And so I think that's part of the reason this is happening. But again, I do have to circle back to the Thanksgiving question, because I did not address it. What questions did you have, Audrey? Because
it was in the chat.
I know, but I can't find it. And so like whatever question you wanted to ask.
It was, they had asked me, what is my favorite Thanksgiving side? And they asked you, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dessert? And my favorite side, I'm not a mashed potatoes person. Like to me, they're just whatever. Like we don't even need to have mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving and I'm fine.
This is probably the last episode of this podcast ever.
And, but no, my mom makes a killer oyster stuffing. Ooh. So it's so it's like pretty much regular stuffing with oysters. That's my favorite. She makes it one time a year, so very much looking forward to that. And John, I have to make up because 2 years ago I missed I missed Thanksgiving 2 years ago. So I really I'm still trying to catch up from that was the Packers Lions, the Black Friday game. So I'm playing catch up a little bit. But yeah, so that's mine. Dessert. What are you going with? Are you a pumpkin pie guy?
I used to be, until just a horrible experience with it where I ate way too much of it as a child. But I have since, I'm proud to say that I've circled back on pumpkin pie, and I'm once again a pumpkin pie guy. But yes, a little whipped cream on the top. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was probably, I would say, I would have to ask, I would have to verify this with my mother, but probably a 15-year stretch where I would not eat pumpkin pie and I would not eat gingerbread ice cream. And also, I just saw someone put in the chat that they're an oyster farmer in New Jersey, which is incredible.
Let's go. Next time we're in the area, we're coming.
Gonna need more info. Well, this weekend.
That's true. Are you up Jersey? Black Friday.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I won't even be there Friday. Be there Saturday. Yeah, we a big seafood family, but yeah, the oyster stuffing is incredible. I'm with you on pumpkin pie. I'm not a big pie person.
You
in
also
general.
had 15 years where you couldn't even smell it?
No. I'm with you on that. I like it now.
Okay.
And that's to me like the one, like I don't, like most people, I'll eat pumpkin pie one day a year, and like the other days I'm like whatever. But yeah, I think Thanksgiving because we're talking a lot about hot boards and coaching tiers and polls and rankings and which candidate. John, let's not confuse this. Thanksgiving is a tier 1 holiday.
Oh,
like,
for sure. It's
like if we're putting 2 holidays at the top,
it's Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving.
Day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm a big Thanksgiving guy. Look at me.
Do you think the Dispatch does not like Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I cover college football. You don't think I just don't vegetate on the couch for 9 hours and eat and watch college football? It's wonderful.
Well, there was
although now there is a lot of working on Thanksgiving Day, especially this year.
There was I saw a thing online, so it must have been true, and it was.
Well, listen.
Yeah, that never could go
tell
wrong.
you. There's some. I think the word was pathetic used to describe my reporting. So so you got to watch what you read.
Well, it was the argument of what's the correct time to eat Thanksgiving. And I believe it was like a Martha Stewart thing, which again, I don't, the algorithms are wild these days. So I'm literally being fed this content. And I think they said the correct answer is like 2 p.m. And I'm just here to tell them that they're wrong. The correct answer is you eat Thanksgiving around when the Packers are playing. And so some years that means we're eating at like 11:30 in the afternoon. This year, we're bumping it off till after the game, so it'll be like a 3:30, which I'm a little scared. I'm going to admit, John, because I remember my childhood, we did this one year, and we waited to eat until after the Packers game. It was Packers-Lions, as it mostly is on Thanksgiving, and the Packers lost. And we had like the most sad Thanksgiving dinner where everybody was just bummed out.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So I'm hoping that's not the case this year.
Yeah, get to a few more football-related things here, and then we'll
reel me back in. Yeah.
Heartline to PSU. Nope. Just gonna move on to that one. Someone asked the December 3rd. December 3rd signing date is of no concern. That's how I'm looking at it right now. It's not something that I'm really thinking about. We do have a name of the oyster place, Point Oyster. Keep that in mind, Audrey, for this weekend. Yeah, I was going to say you're going to have to write it down because my pen is not nearby currently. Let's see. I think that is everything for today. Yeah, I think that's it. We will be back Saturday at 10:30, right? 10:30, 11, somewhere around there, hopefully. After
yeah, I thought you meant in the morning, and I was like, no,
actually 10. Sorry, I would guess 9:30, 10.
Yeah, we should be. Yeah, we'll definitely be a little bit earlier, and we can be talking about bowl options, bowl possibilities, coaching possibilities. Truly, who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they'll, because usually Rutgers after Thanksgiving they do like Thanksgiving again, so maybe we'll get more pumpkin pie.
It's not impossible. I can tell you it'll be better than chicken tenders and hot dogs.
The Beaver Stadium press box meal for the entire season. That was all of it.
Which, whatever, it's free food. We shouldn't be complaining. Yeah. But no, I think that is a good place to leave it. If you were listening after the fact, leave those 5-star ratings reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button down below. Hit the subscribe button down below. If you are a first-time watcher, we are glad to have you here. We greatly appreciate you. Again, if you have questions in the future, please bring them to the chat. We answer them as often as we can.
We have an important one. We need to clarify.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Why? I saw someone ask this too. I knew you were going to want to say, why is Audrey such a Packers fan in Eagles-Steelers country?
Yeah, I admit it really makes little sense. My dad, it's so random. My dad was given a Packers jersey for Christmas one year as a kid, and it stuck. So literally like 60s Packers on. Dad's from Pennsylvania. Like there is no reason that this makes sense. but it stuck. It did not stick with my brother, who's an Eagles fan. But yeah,
Go Birds.
we're shareholders. I got my shareholder certificate hanging up in my office. Packers shareholders. So.
And one more question that I want to address, just because I enjoy doing this every time I see it. Heartline status, still no.
Still no.
Anyways, you can read all of my writing over at SenderDaily.com. You can find me on Twitter at John Sauber and on Blue Sky at johnsauber.bsky.social. Find all of Audrey's writing at InsideTheLines.substack.com. You can find her on Twitter at OddSnyder4 and on Blue Sky at AudreySnyder.bsky.social. We appreciate all of you. This has been a lot of fun. It's one of our longer episodes, I think. Appreciate all the questions. Please keep bringing them throughout the coaching search and after the coaching search, and in the portal window, and in the assistant coach hiring search. Yeah, we'll be here the whole time. We'll have you covered, despite what I think some noted SEC analysts think of me and my reporting. Until then, we will see you Saturday at call it 10 o'clock.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes, everybody, have a great Thanksgiving, and thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.